you. Goodyear. More driven.
For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP. Due to the weather on Friday, Five Flags Speedway had to postpone the race to this Friday. If you purchase pit armbands or grandstand tickets, those will be available to exchange for this Friday. For everyone else, it's $5 admission night and, more importantly, Demolition Derby night. Along with the Derby, the Outlaws return as well as the Truck Series and Pure Stock, so come on out to the Speedway on Friday for another great night of racing. In our recruiting spotlight this week, Tavian Dale for the Washington Wildcats. The 5'11", 210-pound linebacker had 122 tackles in his junior season and was an integral part of the Wildcats' resurgence in 2019. With a blue-gray game invite already, you know colleges are hot on his trail, including Middle Tennessee. Coach Whitten raves about Dale and the fact that COVID-19 didn't slow this young man down, as he basically lived in the weight room over the spring. Tavian is ready for the upcoming year, and where most would be happy turning around and having the season they had last year, it seems Dale and the Wildcats are out to win it all, and they know what it takes. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Hi, this is Barry Cole of Beret Jewelers. Like Coach Saban and the Bama football team wants to be the best at what they do on and off the field, Beret Jewelers works hard every day to be the best jeweler on the Gulf Coast.
So they have this illusion that they have all these choices. But the fact of the matter is if you want to be good, you really don't have a lot of choices because it takes what it takes. You have to do what you have to do to be successful.
Sometimes the hidden treasure is right in your backyard, and for diamonds and jewelry, it's here at Beret Jewelers. We offer a huge selection of Forever Mark diamonds and engagement rings, Breitling, Tag Heuer, and Omega watches, Pandora, and John Hardy jewelry, along with the finest jewelry craftsmen in the area. We also have 12 months interest-free financing and guaranteed best prices on all of our jewelry and services. Stop by and see me and my staff on 12th Avenue next to Bonefish Grill. I'm Barry Cole with Beret Jewelers, and I want to be your jeweler and roll tide.
Beret Jewelers, proud sponsor of the Paul Feinbaum Show.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
For your ridiculous facts, I'm JP. The referee tossed a jump ball after every basket in basketball until 1937. That may be the reason the average points per game per team was 35, and now it's 112. And PETA, you may want to cover your ears on this one. It takes 3,000 cows to supply the NFL with enough leather for a year's supply of footballs. That's a lot of steak. That's your ridiculous facts. I'm JP.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM. Pensacola's home for hometown sports. Your home to talk football with Coach K. Sports Drive with Chad Brillante and Sports Call with Davis Allen. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola or become a sponsor, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Look, we have a ton to talk about as always. The ever-revolving door to college football, NFL. Look, the good news is we've got schedules now. We've got dates. We're moving forward. Padded practices are happening. We're not there yet, but we are moving forward. And we'll get to a little bit of that here, obviously, on Talk Football with Coach K. Look, before we do that, obviously, hope you're doing well, by the way. Appreciate you tuning into the show with us. Hopefully you're staying safe, washing your hands. Look, I know it's a day-by-day process, but it looks like we're starting to get a handle on things here with the virus in our area. I'm going to say for other places, but we're starting to get there. And with that being said, there's so many people to thank, including yourself. Obviously, it takes all of us to do this, but I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers this time. And look, what they've been able to do during COVID-19 is incredible. I mean, these folks are heroes, putting themselves out there on the front lines each and every day. From police officers, firefighters, EMT personnel, nurses, doctors. We live in a community that has fantastic folks, fantastic first responders and healthcare workers. It goes without saying, but those folks deserve a thank you during this time. These people have just went above and beyond anything we could imagine. And there's things that, look, I have friends and family on both sides of this, hearing stories about things that go on. I'm glad I don't see these things go on. I'm glad they're there in that place. And we support them. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in our country right now, but we support those folks. Don't let a few bad eggs ruin the entire bunch, because there is some great ones out there. So with that being said, obviously, look, do want to thank the grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers. Maybe you didn't know you were essential. Well, you are essential, and thank you for what you're doing, by the way. And once again, not a political statement. I have to say that just to make that, maybe it's your first time hearing it, but please throw on a mask if you can. We're starting to, like I said, get a handle on this the best we can. There's no way to truly get one on it, but please just throw a mask on. Look, nobody wants to do it any more than the next person when it's all said and done, but it's about protecting everyone, not just yourself. And with these people that are in these stores, maybe it's grocery stores or whatever, the protocols that are set up, if you don't like them, then don't do it. Don't go in there. Don't put somebody else at risk. But with that being said, those folks don't want to follow it any more than you do. But it's there to protect all of us, like I said. So with all that being said, that's a mouthful right there. Coach, I know we have a ton to get to today, but how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well. Excuse me, as always, I send my regards out and my thanks to those people that you just mentioned. It's amazing what they've done.
Absolutely. And look, we're talking football here. Obviously, we're fixing to talk about the SEC schedule. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL as well. Look, we talk a little bit of everything. If you want to join the show, 850-623-1330 is the number. That's our studio line. Hey, you don't want to call? I get it. Maybe you're a little shy or you just don't want to talk to us. Maybe you don't talk to me. I get it. Look, I don't want to talk to me sometimes. But 850-623-1330, you can text that number as well. You got a question? Maybe you disagree with something that we say. That's okay. We're all for it. We respect everybody's opinion here. 850-623-1330. Give us a call or give us a text right there. Love to hear from you. Love to hear, look, maybe there's a subject that you want to talk about or get Coach's insight on as well. Hey, look, he's a former NFL player and coach. Got a lot of insight there. I go to him all the time, obviously. Coach, you know that. But, look, I want to jump into this, Coach. I know we have a little bit of time here. Before we get into the SEC schedule, I do want to mention, yesterday we talked about it, that Escambia County for high school football was going to make their announcement. They did late last night. They're going to have practices September 7th. That's when they're going to start practices. September 18th is when they can play their first game. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to have the same schedule here. Obviously, it seems that Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, those counties will follow suit, as we have so many high schools in Escambia. So a lot of those teams had to wait to see what Escambia was going to do. We assume that obviously they will probably follow along. With that being said, though, the schedules are being made right now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Teams have an opportunity. If they want to play in the state playoffs, they can. If they want to opt out, they can. But with that being said, right now, September 7th is when they can start practices. And the reason they did that is to give them 2 weeks with students coming back to school. Now, I did see, obviously, today that 47% of Escambia County students are going back to school. The others are doing virtual stuff, and that may help have sports. I know some people are maybe against that, but it is what it is. It may help the process a little bit, but nonetheless, 2 weeks back in school before they're going to do practices just to make sure they can get their feet underneath them. So, hey, it's a positive sign. We'll see what happens. It doesn't mean anything's for sure, but these guys have the opportunity to move forward September 7th. Coach, I know that we have a ton when we talk about the SEC schedule coming out. Look, this is starting to feel more like football season now. I know we're getting closer, and hearing guys, going to training camps in the NFL. Now we got padded practices in the SEC. These guys are out there. This is starting to feel real, and I know we have a long way to go, but nonetheless, Coach, The schedule was released last night. We got dates now. We knew kind of who they were going to play, obviously. We didn't know how the schedule was going to match up. This is going to be interesting, Coach. You know, we got Alabama traveling to Missouri, Georgia traveling to Arkansas, Kentucky. I'm telling you, Kentucky at Auburn, week 1, Auburn better be on their P's and Q's, because that's a good Kentucky team right there. Florida will travel to Ole Miss, and boy, you know Lane Kiffin would love to upset Dan Mullen and the Gators his first week back in the SEC. I don't see it happening, but we'll see. I think, Coach, when you look at this, obviously Tennessee travels to South Carolina, Vanderbilt travels to Texas A&M. This is the trickiest game to me when you truly look at Kentucky. We expect Auburn to be good, but not elite this year. But LSU, how is LSU going to be? Now, they get Mississippi State week 1 at home right there. Coach, that game kind of gives me chills a little bit, just because I know that, Mike Leach hasn't had a ton of time, but that Mike Leach offense, we have seen him strike early. It's going to be tough for LSU, really, since we haven't seen a team like this in the SEC. Week 1 against Mississippi State, I know they're at home. Regardless of whether there's fans or not, Coach, that could be a trap game early on in the season for LSU.
Well, you're right. It's going to be dicey, anybody that plays Mississippi State. But do you know the schedule may work in LSU's favor here. And here's the reason why. Mississippi State would be most dangerous to a team that only had a week to prepare for them. LSU's got all this time preseason to look at all that Washington State film, everything on Leach they get their hands on, talk to people, talk to other people in the Pac-12 who have played against him and done a good job defending him. They've had more time and still have more time to work on him than anybody else that plays him. So I think it's an advantage for LSU, especially being at home and having this added time to work on them.
That's a great point, Coach. That is well said right there. Because you get an idea, obviously, and you're right. You have a better shot, especially when if you played a big team before and having to turn around the next week and play Mississippi State. Maybe you were banged up or whatever it is. Yeah, you're right. I will agree with that 100%. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be a lot of fun, Coach. When you look at, and obviously there's a lot of question marks in all of this. We don't have a crystal ball. But when you look at the Florida-Ole Miss matchup, now obviously Lane Kiffin's there. He's got John Rice Plumlee. He's got Matt Corral there, the quarterback situation. We think Plumlee's going to be the guy, it seems, according to their blogs and everybody reporting on practices there. Plumlee's getting a lot of those first-team reps. But, Coach, when you look at this for the Florida Gators, look, the Gators got to go on the road. This is a battle-tested team. Now the Gators, we're going to see what happens. Kyle Trask is now, he is the guy. This is the first time pretty much in his life. When you go back to high school, he was a backup quarterback. The first time in his life that he is truly the guy now coming into or out of an offseason. Do you think that this Ole Miss team will be able to upset Florida? What I mean by that is there enough firepower there for Ole Miss? They've got a lot of problems. Do you think it's going to be a tough game for Florida, or do you think that Florida will kind of handle their business early on?
Well, I think it's going to be a tough ball game anytime you're on the road, certainly to open the season, and against a team with a new coaching staff, and there'll be a lot of Johnny Rah-Rah there and all of that. So, but I don't think that overcomes the talent and the continuity that Florida brings. I think overall talent, I think the quarterback is much superior there at Florida. And the coaching staff has been in place, and they've done an outstanding job, so you've got continuity there. They've got a winning momentum. So it looks to me like all the X's stack up in on Florida's side of the ledger there. I would certainly think so, despite being on the road, the first game. Back to one thing, back to Mississippi State, we should point out a team that would be in a real trap game with Mississippi State would be on into the season, 3 or 4 games into the season, and having to play a heavy run team. Let's say a team that just beats you up running the football and having to stop that and then turn around and play Mississippi State on a short week get ready for them after having to employ a totally different defense the week before and probably getting beat up pretty good. So that would be a real trap game to me with Mississippi State.
Yeah, I would agree. And here I will say this: you look at the schedule here. Alabama actually has a little bit of a tough run here. Now they play obviously Missouri week 1, week 2. They're back home against Texas A&M. They're back on the road to Ole Miss. Turn around and get to host Georgia. And then here, this is the 3-game sketch. You got Georgia at home, Tennessee on the road, and Mississippi State at home. Those 3 teams right there. And we don't know what's going to happen with Tennessee. Look, all signs that we're getting from Tennessee, and we'll talk about an issue they're having right now, is this Tennessee team's going to be a lot better. Am I saying they can beat Alabama? No, I'm not saying that, but it's a lot better team and anything can happen. Obviously, Coach, this brings up my next question, or my next thing to you here. Look, the odds are coming out. This is just the Vegas odds. I know we've seen other odds, but I'm just throwing the Vegas odds out just to give people an idea. Right now, Alabama is a runaway favorite to win the SEC. Georgia is 7-10. Georgia's 5-1 odds. Florida's 6-1 odds. LSU 6-1, and then it goes to Texas A&M 10-1 and Auburn 14-1. And maybe if you're in Mississippi State or Tennessee, they're 100-1. So regardless, Coach, Alabama are a runaway favorite. When you look at that, I mean, Georgia's just a tick ahead of Florida. Do you believe that Alabama is the runaway favorite here? And what about Georgia and Florida? I mean, this is I know it's obviously they're just odds, but Coach, do you believe that either one of these teams has a chance to upset Alabama?
Well, here's the deal. There's another poll out, and I think it's by the sports writers, that has Alabama far ahead, rated far ahead to win the SEC. Georgia would be next, and then LSU, and then Florida at 11%, bringing up the rear of that 14 prediction on the SEC. Now, I don't agree with that at all. I agree more with the Vegas odds there. Certainly, Georgia and Florida are going to be pretty close. I would rate Florida second right now. I think they're going to take the East, come back and recapture that Eastern Division, which puts them in a playoff game with Alabama. So you'd have to say, if I think that's true, that's the way I see it right now, that I'd have to say Alabama, Florida, Georgia, maybe 3. Again, I think there's a lot of talent at LSU. I just want to see how they're going to overcome a 16-player loss and a quarterback who did for them what Barrow did last year. It's unbelievable. So anyway, that's the way I would see it. I think that's a little the one poll there that has Florida 4th. I think is a little far-fetched.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Coach. That I'm now a Florida Gator fan. So I'm joining on. Hey, let's do this. Let's win a championship, whatever it may be. I agree, though. Look, it's going to be interesting. I get people putting Georgia a tick ahead of Florida just because of what we've seen in the past. But this is going to be an interesting year. And we talked to Brent Barron with over there in Jacksonville and writes for. He covers the Florida Gators big time. And I asked him, too, because he covers all of college football, obviously, but especially the SEC, that quarterback battle over there. And I said, Brent, for Georgia, is this a true quarterback battle, or is this Jamie Newman's job to lose? I mean, because all the hype is on Jamie Newman. And he straight up told me, he said, listen, I would not be surprised with Todd Monken over there right now if JT Daniels is the quarterback. He goes, I know that's not the sexy pick. That's not what everybody wants to hear. That's not what anybody is hearing. But I'm just telling you, JT Daniels fits that system when you look at that system. So Jamie Newman is a talented quarterback, no doubt. But JT Daniels is now practicing. They're all back at practice to some form or fashion. So we'll see what happens with that. But, regardless, when you look at Florida, there's no question what Florida's got coming back. The only thing is you look at the couple of the wide receivers, obviously, sitting out practice yesterday. They don't, there's a lot of rumors of they may not play, they may play. But I thought it was great what Dan Mullen said. Dan Mullen said, hey, they don't want to play, I support them. But we just move on. Like, we can't worry about that. We've got plenty of stuff to, ahead of us. We've got plenty of talent on this team. We just move forward. So when you look at it, hey, that's the right attitude. And Dan Mullen has had the right attitude from the beginning. Remember, he's the one that said we got to be flexible during this entire thing, and that's what he's preached to his players. And look, so far Florida hasn't had anybody opt out. We'll see if that changes. I think those guys will play, but it is what it is. But Coach, we got to go to a quick break here. When we come back, I want to talk about the quarterbacks a little bit more. As Pro Football Focus rated some SEC quarterbacks, they rated all the quarterbacks in the country here. We'll see where some of these SEC quarterbacks stack up. Some of them is that's complete disrespect to some of these guys. But we'll talk about that, as well as what Greg Sankey said about the safety of the players coming back after they made the SEC announcement. University of North Carolina has gone to virtual classes right now. What does that mean for their football program? Well, it could be a positive. And, look, we'll talk about Tennessee's Cade Mays. Boy, he is in Tennessee never seems to catch a break. We'll talk about all that more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
It's time for another edition of Well, Now You Know in Pensacola sports history. Baseball dates back to Pensacola to 1890 with the original team, the Pensacola Dudes. It grew even bigger when the Pensacola Flyers drew in big crowds. They would play their games at Fort Pickens and Legion Field, which was located downtown, and the fans were in for a treat. In 1928, the New York Yankees, with players like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, had a chance to come to Pensacola to play the Flyers as part of a Southern spring training tour. Over 3,000 fans turned out for a game that, yes, the Yankees did win 12-2. Legion Field eventually moved to Admiral Mason Park in 1952 on 9th Avenue in Bayfront, named after Charles P. Mason, the Vice Admiral of the Navy and a huge baseball fan. As almost 70 years later, the baseball tradition continues with the Blue Wahoos downtown. This has been another edition of Well, Now You Know in Pensacola sports history. I'm Chad Brilliante.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
Hey, what's up? Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, we're into August, that first time that we start to feel the flow for football season.
Foosball.
Like getting ready to run out of the tunnel to a song like Enter Sandman. Might be a little different this year. Probably no smoke, social distance away from the people, as you might get cheered on by virtual fans.
You can do it!
But overall, we're excited, and we'll keep you posted with the latest updates from high school, college, and the NFL. Join myself, Chad Brillante, and JP right here on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 on ESPN Pensacola.
Hey, this is Jay Williams. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. Hope everybody's doing well, having a great day here. Moving forward, this seems that, look, last week at this time, seems everything was falling apart. This week we're getting some positive signs, obviously, with the SEC releasing their dates, the schedules. I think it's awesome. So, you know what? Hey, it is what it is, but you know what? We're going to take the positivity side of this. 850-623-1330 is the number. Caller, who's this?
Yes, this is Kathy at Regents. May I speak to Mr. McCaskill?
This is ESPN Pensacola, Kathy.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We have this number as an individual.
All right. Oh, Kathy has the wrong number there. Coach, how about that? So, you know what? There you go. Kathy at Regions, wrong number. Nonetheless, all right, Coach, I'm going to jump into this after Regions called us right there. Look, Coach, when we look at this, Pro Football Focus ranks, they ranked all the 130 FBS quarterbacks. Look, they didn't care, with teams canceling. They just went ahead and did all of them. Interesting, really interesting here when this is all said. Now, obviously, Pro Football Focus, they have a lot of criteria they go through, but Clemson's Trevor Lawrence and Ohio State's Justin Fields are 1 and 2 right there. Not a big surprise necessarily. Number 3, Coach. Now, I will say this. There are 3 quarterbacks in the top 20, and they are probably not the 3 that you expected. But nonetheless, I will go through this list. Jamie Newman is number 3 on this list. They said that inside the pocket, he's a good quarterback. He can run a little bit. They like what he brings to the table. Coach, we'll talk about him in a second. Obviously, we both feel the same way. There's a lot of hype on this guy coming from Wake Forest. I'm not going to believe in the hype. Hopefully, we'll see if he proves me wrong or not. Kellen Mond, number 16. Now, they said he would be higher if he was a better pocket passer, but outside the pocket, he's a pretty good quarterback. I thought that was pretty important to play quarterback inside the pocket, but it is what it is. He's number 16 on the list. Number 18, KJ Costello at Mississippi State. He could move up this list depending on Mike Leach and how he uses him. And I have no problem with KJ Costello being 18. The problem that I have, Coach, is number 24 is Mac Jones. Number 29, John Rice Plumlee. 36, Jarrett Garantano at Tennessee. Miles Brennan's 42. Kyle Trask is 48th in the nation in this. And look, I understand Kyle Trask stepped in last year in the job he did. But, Coach, first off, to put John Rice Plumlee, Jarrett Garantano, and we'll see with Miles Brennan, but the disrespect, that just seems crazy to me. Kyle Trask is 48th in the nation according to Pro Football Focus?
Well, I've said on this program before, the 2 quarterbacks in the SEC that I would take, right, I'm just looking at the SEC because I don't know enough about the other quarterbacks to really rate them that much. I would take Trask and Jones. Those would be the 2. Jones and Trask and Jones. And Jones, they're interchangeable. They're both good quarterbacks. I think Brennan, kid at LSU, is going to be good and do a good job because he was a part of that system last year. Took all the practice snaps he got as the number 2 quarterback. Certainly helped him. He's familiar with it, and some seniority. He's been around quite a bit as a mature player. So I really, and always LSU's got to have talent. So I see him being a good quarterback as well. But I would take Trask and Jones as the top 2. And just keep in mind now on these ratings of quarterbacks, they probably do the worst job at that position. And I'm talking about, I'm talking about sports people, sports writers, people who are on the periphery, sportscasters, sports writers, anybody who is forming opinions about football players when they've never strapped it on and they've never coached and they've never scouted or anything else. So anyway, I don't put much faith in that. And just a great example is look back last year, even the people who knew, the scouts, had the Heisman Trophy winner, number one pick of the draft, rated as a 5th or 6th round draft pick. I think one of the draft picks that you see on TV all the time, I think he had him rated as a 6th round pick, Burrow. So there you go. From a 6th round pick to the first player chosen on the draft, and set every quarterback record in the history of college football. So that's how much faith you can put in that. It's fun to look at, but you can't put much faith in that.
Yeah, that is very true, and you're right. Seeing even some people talking about a 7th round or undrafted quarterback and Joe Burrow and what he did last year, you're right. He broke every stinking record for quarterbacks there was, and had probably the best season you could ever imagine for somebody, and just putting that team on his back. I mean, that is, some teams rely on defense. Some games they didn't. They did what they wanted to do, and you knew what they wanted to do, and you couldn't stop them, and that was what made them so well there at LSU. But yeah, I agree, Coach. These lists are interesting. They're always fun to look at, especially when we're awaiting football right now. If you're curious, Felipe Franks at Arkansas was 53rd, Terry Wilson at Kentucky 76th, and Bo Nix at Auburn 95th. So those Auburn, look, I have the other side of my family, big-time Auburn fans. You know what? They may not disagree with that. But with that being said, Coach, Greg Sankey, of course, after releasing the schedule yesterday, a lot of things going on. A lot of people criticizing him for continuing to play football, saying it's shameful. It is what it is. It seems more that's a political statement than it is anything else. But with that being said, we see obviously in the Big Ten, Justin Fields has over 250,000 signatures right now on a petition he wants to play. Don't think that's really going to change anything with the Big Ten. There is a lot of uncertainty, by the way. And once again, this is something that Coach, I laugh at it because the people I use the word wishy-washy, but now, everybody, when the Big Ten made that announcement, everybody, all these people on certain networks were like, great job. You know what? These guys really care. They really care right here. And now these people are speaking out of like, okay, why did we cancel? Well, our medical officials said it wasn't safe. Why? People want to know answers, and they're not giving any answers to that. And now even Penn State's athletic director and a lot of their people inside these Big Ten programs are like, we didn't even vote. Like, nobody even said anything about a vote. Like, the president didn't say anything about a vote, but they're saying they voted. So it's kind of curious on what's going on. The Big Ten is staying silent. Now, parents obviously are going and hand-delivering letters to the office in Chicago for the Big Ten. That is just a mess right now. But I find it funny because now these same people that were like, great job, now they're like, this is shameful by the Big Ten. How they just make this decision?
JP, you're so right. Listen, we have to call it like it is. I mean, we try to stay away as much as we can from political debates, but this is political. So much of it is political, and it's unfortunate. Let me say there are two things about college football that are no-brainers. One, the closer they get to being able to separate the football team from the students coming back to campus. In North Carolina, they had an ideal situation now. But any of them, I'd say the teams are teams that are best able to create a quasi-bubble, if you will, where they can totally keep the football team separated, and they have some leadership, senior leadership on that football team, and they're a good football team. The better football team they are, the more they're going to want to compete. What I'm saying is it keeps them much safer than they even are now. And the other thing that I want somebody to address, and they can't do it, they won't do it, and I don't hear anybody pose the question. What difference does it make about the heart problems? If you get the virus, you get the virus. If it affects the heart, it affects the heart. Now, where are you most liable to get the virus in a football situation right now that's been set up with the best medical treatment in the world, separate facilities. If I were a parent of a football player right now, I would almost be thinking about suing the school for not keeping the football program in place and sending my son out, maybe out on the street or to undisciplined situations that young kids are going to get into. So there you go. I think you can look around, and if those two things become prevalent, then you're going to see college football at those schools in particular.
Yeah, that's correct. And, Coach, we've talked about it off air as well. And, Coach, I will say this on that note right there, obviously, North Carolina and what they did. Now, if people don't know, they had 177 people that had symptoms and obviously that they believe possibly coronavirus. They're being obviously tested. They put 300, I believe, in quarantine just to be safe right now. Now, they automatically went ahead and turned to online classes, virtual learning, things like that. Doesn't mean that a lot of these students left, but not all of them left. A lot of them obviously want to stay there, stay on campus in their dorms and things like that. I'll be interested to see what happens with that. But, it comes down to this. Mac Brown came out when that announcement was made and said, listen, this makes it easier for us because now we can create even a little bit tighter of a bubble. But with that being said, these players still, they're still probably going to try to sneak out if they have parties and go to these parties. But we talked about that. It's a matter of the players have to make a decision as well. And for people that, by the way, say, well, you know what, that is so unfair to the child to tell him he can't go to a party. Nobody's telling him he can't. But at the same time, it's a matter if you want to play football. We're seeing veterans on a lot of these teams. We're seeing coaches. Saban came out and said it. Najee Harris and the veterans on that Alabama squad came out and talked to their players. Those players had a meeting and said, hey, look, guys, this is what it's going to take. All right, you got to find a way to not go to these parties and things, but if you do, you've got to separate yourself. Don't pick up other things that people have touched. Wear masks, keep your distance or whatever. I get it. No, we can't tell you not to go to a party, but at the same time, we want to play football. We want you guys to be serious about playing football, and if you're not that serious about it, then don't come around because you can chance everybody else getting it. So I think this is, Coach, when you look at the North Carolina situation, though, do you think that we may see more schools? I mean, I'm not saying obviously not because of football solely, but because of the outbreak and how quick it happened. Do you see that we may be having more schools go to just virtual classes?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised at that at all, JP. I certainly would expect that to happen. And it gives the school, from a football standpoint, it gives them an advantage. It gives them a better chance to set up that quasi-bubble, if you want to call it that. Yeah. Keep them away from the students. So, you should be looking favorably at that.
Yeah, it's gonna. And look, we all know, Coach. We've talked about it. It's going to be tough. Like Greg Sankey had mentioned, by the way, we talked about this of that saliva test. It's like $10 a test that they're working on. Obviously, getting that all set up right now for these every team in the SEC. I know the ACC and all these other schools are looking at this as well. It's an inexpensive test. If you didn't know, the testing right now costs about $100 a test. You stick this. If you've gotten tested for COVID, you stick the stick up your nose and things like that. It's very unpleasant. But this is a saliva test that can come back even in hours. So these teams are working on it. The NBA has already set it up and has been using it and has had success with it. You can get your test back in less than 24 hours. That's awesome. But that's part of what's SEC is moving forward with. But with that being said, with students on campus, athletic director for Alabama, Greg Byrne, tweeted something yesterday, and obviously Kirk Herbstreit had mentioned it as well. But there's a bunch of people in Tuscaloosa, in the downtown area or whatever, all piled up right there, none of them wearing masks. And he goes, look, who wants college sports this fall? Obviously not these people. We've got to do better than this for each other and our campus community. If you want college football, please wear your masks. And, look, we know we're going to go out and about, but, look, this is not a political statement like I said. This is, if you want it, this is what we got to do. If we want to, bend this curve until we can get a vaccine and move forward, we got to do some precautions that maybe we don't want to do. And if that's throwing on a mask, I will tell you right now, I have no problem doing it because I'm physically able to do it. It doesn't hinder me at all, so I'm just saying that. But you know what? It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We know that the college campus, that's going to be the problem, though. How is this going to work? So the SEC, that's why they started so late, because they wanted students to come back on campus and be able to make adjustments. That's why they have been practicing patience. That's a word that a lot of us do not know anymore. With that being said, Coach, look, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, I do want to mention, obviously, the Tennessee situation with Cade Mays. Let's talk about spring football. Reese Davis had an interesting comment. Won't spend too much time on that. And the quarterback situation in New England. If you think it's Cam Newton, you may want to think again, according to Bill Belichick. We'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
I'm Troy Rafferty, and many of you know about my love for sports and my longtime support for our local high school athletes. One thing these fine young people have taught me over the years is this: whether it's on the ball field, in the classroom, or in a court of law, always work your hardest and achieve the best results possible. And that is the commitment we make to our clients and our community.
Levin Papantonio in Pensacola since 1955.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Florida. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Locally owned, ADX Communications is currently accepting applications for a lifestyle talk show host on News Radio 92.3 AM 1620. The position is part-time, Monday through Friday, and requires knowledge of our Escambia and Santa Rosa listening area and lifestyles. Schedule and perform on-air interviews with guests involved in local businesses, civic activities, nonprofits, arts, and entertainment. Send resumes to hr@newsradio1620.com. ADX is an equal opportunity employer.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? It's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show with us. Going to jump right back into it. Coach, look, this is really interesting here when it comes down. I was actually really surprised when I got the alert yesterday. Cade Mays, if you don't remember, we talked about Cade Mays early on. This was a long months and months and months ago. In fact, I believe it was January when this all happened. But Cade Mays is a former offensive lineman for Georgia. He was one of the 4 or 5 that left, whether it was the draft or transferring out. Look, Georgia's got to replace just about every starter on that offensive line. But Cade Mays is a guy that his hometown is Knoxville. He had, originally early on in his recruitment, had committed to the University of Tennessee. He wanted to go back home and play for Tennessee. And look, Jeremy Pruitt, and that's fine. Guys want to transfer out. It is what it is. But here's the thing. Now, obviously, the NCAA had talked about a one-time transfer rule for immediate eligibility. They said we're going to wait until January, next January coming up, to make that decision. Well, you know what, Coach? We've seen guys like Talia Tungavaloa, Justin Fields before. JT Daniels got, access immediately. He got granted immediate eligibility. Phil Jerkovic, of course, over there with Boston College. They've seen a bunch of guys get immediate eligibility. That's why it's surprising. Mays got denied his waiver. And look, this guy does not represent him anymore. This was a guy earlier on before, and a former attorney for Cade Mays, came out and said, look, I'm sadly disappointed to say the least, but at this point, I don't think there's anything the NCAA could do about a waiver request that would shock me. I'm starting to think that they use a dartboard to make these decisions. Now, when the NCAA came out, obviously, and they don't make any comments. They just said they denied the transfer request. Now, Jeremy Pruitt, there's a lot of people that are highly upset. Obviously, Tennessee fans, Volunteer fans, they're very passionate fan base. They have been hitting the social media airwaves when you want to look at it that way, and very, very upsetting. Coach, when you look at this, this is awkward because, once again, Talia Tungavaloa was right there, for Alabama. He transfers to Maryland. And you can say in conference or whatever it may be, it's still this makes me scratch my head. Coach, can you make any sense of this? Or, look, does it seem that they're using a dartboard to make these decisions sometimes?
I really can. It's unusual. It's an outlier, that's for sure. The only thing I would have to surmise at this point is that that he's got something on his record that they're a little concerned about. Now, that's the only thing I can think about, because any other situation, I would think, pretty much comes under the precedent that they've already set with a number of people.
Yeah, I'm with you, and that's about all we can say about that. That is just it is head scratching. That Jeremy Pruitt said they plan to appeal it. Obviously, we'll see what happens with that. I would just like to know what it is. If I'm Cade Mays, which they reached out and Cade said I haven't heard anything. I just know that it was denied. That was it. So it would be nice to know why, but it is what it is. And Coach, I do want to jump over and not spend a lot of time on this, obviously. But Reese Davis, they were talking to him about the Big Ten and the Pac-12, supposedly planning on playing football in the spring of 2021. He believes that, that this is interesting enough because we talk about the safety of the players out there. But he said, he believes the fall season to the spring, playing in the spring is irresponsible because you're going to play 2 full seasons in 1 calendar year, and that just causes way too many problems for student athletes, injuries, and all. We all know that is crazy to think about playing the schedules that they play. And he said, look, even if you do play 10 games in the spring, because if you think that these guys are not going to play, if we're allowed to play in the fall, next fall, obviously we think we will. But if these guys have the opportunity to play a full schedule that they won't, to recoup the money, get fans back in the stands, whatever it is, and you think they won't do it because they played 10 games in the spring, he goes, you're crazy. They're going to do this. And, Coach, I look at that, and that's another thing. We talked about it a little bit, but nobody had really talked a whole lot about it, was playing that much football in 1 calendar year. It's tough for guys. I mean, I know they're young athletes, and they're resilient and things like this, but, Coach, do you agree with Reese Davis saying that playing 2 full seasons in a calendar year is completely irresponsible?
Well, I may not go quite that far because there's certain things that are going to have to be made up. But it's going to be tough if they do attempt to do it. I don't think they will, to be honest with you. I think they'll just eventually just pass on it because you really can't. You'd be talking about 21, 22 games or more in a short period of time, and it would be difficult. So I really don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We've talked about that quite a bit, and it is going to be tough. And look, Nick Saban came out and had talked about the opt-outs. If they do, if he goes for the teams that want to play in the spring, if you have all these opt-outs, which obviously a lot of these players, especially if they're, they know they're going to be drafted and they've already kind of got that set in stone, will opt out. That's why a lot of people believe that Justin Fields is pushing to play so much right now, because if it comes to playing in the spring, he's not going to play. And you get that. I understand it. It is what it is. I'm not going to fault a guy for going and going to the next level and trying to get his money and things like that. But it's going to be a mess, Coach. It really is. And that's what I hope. I've said it from the beginning, just because of all the naysayers. We know that this can turn around on a dime. And I hope that the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC, as long as some of these other small conferences like with South Alabama and Southern Miss and them can get through a season safely, because if they play a season, obviously they would have done it safely. But I hope they can do that just to kind of to right those people that said it couldn't happen. But it is what it is. That's just me personally. I'm just throwing my opinion out there. Coach, I do want to go to a quick break, and I want to go to a quick break so we have plenty of time to talk about what is going on in New England right now in that quarterback situation. The CFL has canceled. That could mean good news for another spring football league, and Bruce Arians talking about Tom Brady, saying he is right on track. So we'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked gun pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
So I'm having this debate with a landlord.
I said, no pets. Can't rent you the apartment.
My dog is not a pet. Look, I'm legally blind. I need my guide dog.
Sorry, those are the rules.
Rules that allow for housing discrimination? So I made a call to HUD. Turns out, landlords must make reasonable accommodations for assistance animals.
If you think you've been discriminated against, call HUD at 1-800-669-9777 or go to hud.gov/fair housing.
Fair housing is your right. Use it.
A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh, Dilly Dilly! Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
This is Northwest Florida's all sports, all the time station. From Destin to New Orleans, sports fans come here for ESPN and local sports talk. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show. Hope you're doing well. Jumping right back into this, Coach, on the final segment here, obviously. Look, Cam Newton going to New England has obviously been a special story with the Patriots. We understand that. Look, signing him for $500,000 is probably the biggest story when it's all said and done. And it seems that the Patriots were the only team that offered him. That's another thing here. When people talk about this, obviously, I've mentioned that, look, Cam Newton since 2015, 2015 was a great year, but has not been the same guy. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but now we're looking at him after some injuries, obviously an injury last year. The people that believe he is going to be a runner, I'm very hesitant on that. Getting into his 30s now, running quarterbacks, if you're in your 30s, that's like being in your 40s as a pure passing quarterback, or a pocket quarterback, whatever you want to call him. But, Coach, when you look at this here, for New England, that's a big question mark. They've had a bunch of players opt out, but the quarterback situation, there for a while, we thought, look, especially after the draft, Jarrett Stidham was going to be the guy. And Brian Hoyer's there as well, but it seems right now with Cam Newton, obviously everybody has automatically given him the starting role. Belichick says not so fast, and he's actually proving it on the practice field. We see coaches say a lot of things, and you know what? We see him do a different thing on the practice field, much like what Georgia was doing right now. Georgia's kind of splitting their reps as well. And, look, a lot of people believe you don't split your reps if you believe one guy is the starting quarterback. So, with that being said, Coach, Cam Newton, Brian Hoyer, Jarrett Stidham are all splitting first-team reps here. It's going to be an interesting quarterback situation. I know we kind of feel the same here, Coach. Personally, I believe Jarrett Stidham, he might win this job, and there's a lot to be said for playing behind Tom Brady, learning that playbook. Cam Newton has come out and said this is like the hardest calculus ever, trying to figure it out. But, it's a stepping stone for everybody. Everybody said that. But, Coach, when you look at this, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you believe week 1 will be the starting quarterback in New England? You there, Coach? I think we lost Coach right there. So let me work to get him back real quick. But with that being said, I will say this. This is interesting enough. When I look at Cam Newton, once again, I have a problem with people crowning somebody before we actually get there. And for people to believe, hey, look, that Belichick is not he's not going to give it to Jarrett Stidham, Brian Hoyer, because he believes, look, Cam Newton is a better quarterback. He gives him more of an opportunity. I get it. I get that the people love Cam Newton. I have no problem with that. I'm skeptical. I like Cam Newton, too. I love old Cam Newton, especially just because of the dominance that he was. And look, the other side of my family is Auburn fans. They love Cam Newton as well, but they also understand this is a different style quarterback. And remember, the cupboard's kind of bare here when we talk about for New England and that wide receiving core outside of guys like Julian Edelman. So this is not. Don't expect, regardless who's playing quarterback here, this to be an explosive offense. I'm not saying it won't be. It's going to be tough this year. Dante Scarnecchia is gone on the offensive line. This is a different look New England team, but once again, I still believe they're going to win that division. Buffalo, prove me wrong. Here's your opportunity, Buffalo. Tom Brady's gone. You have no reason not to win it now, and it's going to be tough against Belichick. But I think we got Coach back on. Coach, you with us?
Yes. Yes, I am. I don't know what happened there, but at any rate, talking about New England, got 2 Auburn quarterbacks up there, both Auburn struggling is from Auburn as well. But, don't count him out. And I go back. I think you have to go back and realize that Belichick doesn't miss too many things, and he certainly turns over all the back history on somebody that he can, and he has to know that most of the scouts felt that Stidham was an outstanding talent, even coming out of high school, going to college. Did a heck of a job at Baylor. Auburn offense is not really suited to him, but good quarterback, and I think Belichick knows that. So he's not going to just turn that football team over to Cam. I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll see. There's no preseason games, but I will tell you this: they're going to be a close watch on those early first 2 ball games, those early games.
Yeah, it really is. It's New England is probably one of the most interesting stories when you talk about, with all the people that have opted out, how that team's going to look. But Coach, I know you've said it. I've agreed with you plenty. I think New England's going to be okay. Now, if you pick this team to win the Super Bowl, that's where, it's like, look, this is not that type of team yet. But he's rebuilding. By the way, when he drafted this offseason, I thought he did a great job drafting. Went out and got some tight ends, but he got some very athletic defensive players to fit that mold, to be able to counteract guys like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and some of these other quarterbacks. And I think he's always devising a plan. And, look, Belichick's always 6 steps ahead of everybody when you're playing chess with him. He is a guy that he already knows what he's going to do. He already knows what you're going to do, and you don't even know what you're going to do yet. So that's what's made him so good for so long. So this team is going to be okay. It's going to go through a little bit of struggling here, but, hey, it is what it is. And I like Jarrett Stidham a lot. I agree with you, Coach. I think he'd never fit in. I watched him play at Auburn a little bit as well. That offense obviously is not nice to quarterbacks in general. It's changed a little bit, but we'll see. Look, at least they got a good situation at the quarterback regardless. But, Coach, I do want to talk about this, the CFL. Now, Canadian Football League, Coach, you know about it as well. They canceled their season yesterday, obviously, with COVID-19. And look, they're shifting their focus to the 2021. They didn't want to play a shortened season this fall. A little bit of surprise to a lot of people here. But, Coach, when you look at this could be – we talk about the XFL, and the reason I bring this up, could this be the perfect opportunity? Because players have come out already in the CFL and said, hey, look, if there's some spring football, we'd love to play. There's a league for us, we'd love to play. They want to play football. Coach, when you look at the XFL, they could play in the XFL and then go on to the CFL, or it could get them some looks maybe that they wouldn't normally get, and maybe they could find an opportunity next offseason to go play in the NFL. Who knows? But, Coach, do you see this as being kind of a perfect opportunity for the XFL to get some really talented players? Because, by the way, I know they're not the NFL, but the CFL has some really talented players that just didn't get the fair shake. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes there's some good players out there that don't get those looks. But the CFL does have some talented players. Coach, is this the XFL's time to strike right now?
Oh, well, I think it's a good deal for the XFL. And I'll tell you, you're right about that. The CFL does have some good players. You're talking about just recently, the leading soccer in the league at Miami. You're talking about people like Joe Theismann, Warren Moon. There are a lot of players that have come out of the CFL and been outstanding players in the National Football League. So, this I'm surprised that they canceled the season, but I think there are a lot of good players that are going to be out there ready to play for whomever.
Yeah, that's the thing is the players have made it very clear that they just want to play some football. And look, everybody understands that. I have no problem with that. For the XFL, it only heats up even more as the XFL, obviously, the presidents are working. Fox has said that they are interested in broadcasting games. The presidents, like I said, are speaking out. They're working to get things rolling now that they, I believe, here Friday, it officially turns over to the new management over there. So we'll see what things they come out with, what they're going to be able to do. I will tell you this, though, with everything going on with COVID-19 and football in general, I think they'll have no shortage of people, if they can get it going, obviously, that want to play. Because it's a great opportunity, and it's going to be interesting to see management-wise. Coach, we talked about that. Obviously, with Oliver Luck, he was great to have on board, and Vince McMahon, that whole situation was a mess with him. But you know what? Going to be interesting to see who they bring on board to make some of these decisions. But, like I said, the CFL has now canceled their season for 2020, going to move on to 2021. Real quick, obviously, Jordan Wilson, the tight end there for FSU, is going to be out for the year. That is very unfortunate. The transfer from UCLA is out. Chuba Purdy is going to miss a couple weeks with an injury he had in practice for FSU. Hey, it's going to be okay, but I tell you, that Jordan Wilson injury is going to hurt them tremendously. But, hey, it is what it is. We got to move on. It's 2020. Coach, that sound means it's time for us to go as usual. We didn't get everything we wanted to, but you know what? We'll do our best tomorrow. But it's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. See you tomorrow, JP.
Absolutely, Coach. Take care, and appreciate our listeners again. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Remember, throw on that mask if you can. It's not a statement. I'm just throwing it out there for you guys. Want everybody to be safe. And, look, we'll be back same time tomorrow talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
Become a sponsor, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEVY, Milton, Pensacola.
Is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
And I am Max Kellerman. And let me tell you something. I have to do this. It's very important. I've been told that this is very important. Raj won't shut up about it all morning. Make sure you got the Straight Talk Wireless. So here it is. Straight Talk Wireless has the full court cell phone coverage you need. Just $45 a month gets you the unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data or data, depending on how you want to say it. Then 2G for up to 50% less than the big carriers. Only at Walmart. Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. I don't know. Sounds like a good deal to me. All right. As I was saying, this is the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, the ESPN app, Sirius XM, Channel 80, or your smart speaker. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can reach us at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776, 888-SAY-ESPN. The Mavericks got jobbed last night, and I took the Clippers to win the whole thing when Kawhi signed. I took the Clippers. So Kawhi, I thought he proved he was the best player in the at the very least for Kawhi. You can say the title is still disputed. It's like when Muhammad Ali was forced into exile by the government as an undefeated fighter, and Frazier unified the titles. The best you could say for anyone else is, well, LeBron always had the playoffs to prove he was the greatest player in the world. So he got hurt, and his team didn't make the playoffs, so he didn't have that anymore. You know, because at a certain point, LeBron wised up. He started taking his foot off the gas in the regular season on defense because he had to save himself for the playoffs. It's a 2-month season, the playoffs. And that 2-month season, you know,